For entrepreneurs, productivity can feel like a never-ending pursuit. So today, we're going to be talking about productivity and how it shows up in your follow-through, your focus, and whether you actually finish what you start. You know, we tell ourselves that because we manage our own schedules, we should be able to have it all, right? More income for a better lifestyle, more satisfaction because we're making our own decisions, and more time with family and friends. But the hard truth is this. Productivity isn't automatic just because we work from home. It's intentional, it's discipline, and sometimes it requires us to do what we don't feel like doing. That's why in today's Read Along with Entrepreneurs, we're slowing down, and I'm going to be reviewing 3 of my favorite books on productivity. Hello, everyone. I'm Gail Bates, and welcome to my channel where I interview entrepreneurs from around the globe who work from home. And with over 20 years of experience myself as a home-based entrepreneur, I do understand the challenges of staying organized and managing your time and avoiding that quiet overwhelm that can creep in when you're building something on your own, right? So this Read Along with Entrepreneurs series is where I share business books that have really shaped my business. So this channel becomes not just an inspiration, but a true resource to help you thrive. So if you value practical growth, please hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. So the 3 books I'm sharing today are The Productivity Project by Chris Bailey, The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, and lastly, a book called Whatever It Takes by Bornancin. So before we dive in, make sure you also watch my video on my personal reading method where I show you how to schedule reading into your day. So I don't have time, which we say often, right, is no longer an excuse. You're going to find that in the link below. Okay, let's talk a little bit about first The Productivity Project by Chris Bailey. You know, Chris spent an entire year running experiments on himself in the pursuit of productivity. He also interviewed experts like Charles Duhigg, who was the author of The Power of Habit, which is one of my favorite books, and David Allen, who was the author of Getting Things Done, another great book. So what I appreciate about this book is how practical it is, and each chapter really begins with a takeaway. And he even lists the estimated reading time. And I really love that because it aligns beautifully with just being intentional about how we spend our time. Now, one of my favorite sections is chapter 3, which is called The Rule of Law. And, you know, I like to read a little bit from the book so that you get a feel for what it's all about. Now, he talks about identifying the 3 most valuable tasks that you want to accomplish each day. So he writes, when you sit in front of your computer every morning and open up your inbox, it is far too easy to forget about what's important when more urgent but less important tasks come your way. You know, the takeaway is simple and powerful. You just need to decide the 3 things you want to accomplish by the end of the day, and just do the same at the start of every week. This alone can change how you operate. So I highly recommend this book. If you want a research-based, hands-on approach to managing your time, your energy, and your attention, this is the book for you. Okay, now let's move on to the book, The One Thing, by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Now, I recommended this book for years to my coaching clients, and it opens with the story from the movie City Slickers. If you've ever seen that movie, it's a hoot. But in that movie, Mitch asks, "What's the one thing?" And Curly replies, "That's what you have to figure out." And so the question becomes the foundation of the entire book. And one of the most impactful tools is what Keller calls the focused question. And the focused question is, what he says here, is what is the one thing I could do today such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? You know, I wrote this question on a 3x5 card myself, and I actually look at it almost every day because when you're running a business from home, distractions are everywhere, but clarity changes everything. So if you struggle with overwhelm or feel pulled in too many directions, this book will really help you simplify and really focus. Okay, and lastly, let's take a look at the book, Whatever It Takes by Bornancin. When I first saw this book, I was immediately drawn to it because for years in my trainings, I would close each one of those trainings with an acronym that I had developed called the WITA, or the WITA. And what it stood for was the whatever it takes attitude. So this really spoke to me when I saw this book on the shelf. And, Bornancin really brings that same energy. In chapter 5, which I wanted to share with you today, he talks about going all out. He says, we have 3 choices. We either give up, we give in, or we give it our all. And on page 75, he writes, develop an exceptional habit of consistent action. Don't do things sporadically to hit your goals. Instead, practice the art of persistence and endurance. And it's really a powerful reminder. You want to develop that exceptional habit, right? Habits are big for us. Consistent daily action, just repeated and repeated over and over. And you just become utterly relentless with your focus. So of all the strategies we look for as entrepreneurs, marketing techniques, funnels, systems, consistency may be the most powerful one of all. So I highly recommend, if you have a minute, really, really take the time to read this book. Okay, so what I want you to remember from this is reading is not a luxury. It's really about you learning from others and taking the time to read. Because if you want to grow your income, if you want to grow your capacity, if you want better results, if you want long-term success, which is what we all want, you have to commit to long-term learning. So just don't consume the content, really study it and underline it. I spent a lot of time underlining in a lot of books. And just apply one idea at a time, because productivity isn't about really doing more. It's really becoming more intentional with the time that you already have. So pick one of these books. Which one will it be today? Will it be Productivity by Chris Baylor? Will it be The One Thing by Gary Keller or Jay Papasan? Or will it be Whatever It Takes by Bornancin? Just pick one, okay? And schedule 10 to 15 minutes a day and begin, because your business will only grow as much as you do. I'll see you on the next video.